Skiza flow na conversation, essentially speaking.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Essentially Speaking with me, your host, Mr. Noel Nderitu. Today, we're talking about being an independent artist, comparing that journey with that of a management or record label. And this conversation, I think, even goes wider than music. I'm just talking specifically about it because I'm a musician, but I know that some of these considerations that we'll go through also apply to business, especially new businesses. And there are a lot of guys starting new businesses or have small startups or their businesses are quite young. I think when you're starting out, you'll appreciate the fact that you're probably doing 98% of what an organization should be doing, right? Business owners, do you feel me right now? You're the accountant, you're the marketer, you're the distributor, you're the brains behind the project that you're trying to launch or the product that you're trying to push. You're all those things, and it's not any different for a musician. I meet a lot of younger artists who I'm careful not to use the word upcoming, but let me say in terms of experience, of professional experience. And when I say professional, I'm not talking about your ability to sing or to play. I'm talking about how many years you've been doing it and it's the thing that is paying all your bills. How long have you been doing it professionally in that sense? And so I meet a lot of guys, and I think even I had this when I started. There's this notion that because you're a gifted person, because you're talented, that things will just align themselves. That's my sound of alignment. Things will just align themselves. A red carpet will roll down. And you'll just walk majestically waving because of your ability. And even in business, it's the same thing. You may have a product that you think this is a solution to X problem. And when it gets to this market, let me tell you, I will shake tables. But a lot of times you'll find that, yes, you may have a solution to a problem, or yes, you may be talented, but it entails so much more for that talent to take shape, to be seen for what it is, or for that product, that business product. But for now, let me speak on my journey. When I started, I was everything. Like, we'd go to the studio, we'd record songs, and everyone would be like, okay, all the best. You know, I'm the one who has to figure out how to shoot the video. I'm the one who has to figure out how to pay for everything. You know, I become my own stylist. I become my own accountant. I became everything. And I really value that beginning because it's important for you to learn that sort of that ethic. Because a lot of the things that I deal with now, I learned back then. And so if I have knowledge of it, then it's very hard for you to quote unquote play me. If I'm negotiating, say, for a gig, and I know that, hey, I played this gig 3 years ago for artist X, I was in their band, and I know the rough estimate of what they charged, it would be harder for you to tell me, no, we don't have that sort of budget, if I've experienced it. So I think that's the biggest sort of lesson, biggest fallback that you have, despite it being frustrating. I mean, I've done it for a couple of years now, and I'm still 100% independent. And when you do it for a couple of years, if you have a good grassroots following, people will take note. And people who have vested interests in music may approach you for certain type of deals. And so before I was a musician, I thought being signed was very lucrative. I thought it was actually the goal. And it's slowly when I started learning about the business of music is when I was like, okay. I kind of look at things differently. So I want to talk about the perks of being an independent artist and the perks of, I've never been signed, but what I know happens for a signed artist. And then where we can have a sort of middle ground and what we can do going forward if you are just starting your music journey, or if you're an artist like me, or if you're a superstar artist. I don't know who's watching or who's listening, but both sides have good and bad attributes to them. But let's weigh them, and you can weigh for yourself because you know your journey best. And if you're not a musician, stick around. If you're in business, I'm sure there are some things that you can learn. You can write up the pros and cons of having an investor or raising that capital yourself, you know. And so when you start, I think it's very necessary for you to look out for for the pros and cons of what you're doing. So as an independent, one of the pros that I love is that I have full creative control. I can wake up today and I say, today I want to do a reggae song, and I record it, done. I can wake up next week and say, I want to record a 4-track EP, and I record it, done. Like, I don't have to go through red tape of asking someone for permission, right? Another perk is that I own my catalog. I own the copyright. I basically own what I record, unless I'm co-writing with someone else or there's that sort of understanding with another musician. If my music is to be published or to be syndicated by or synchronized rather by television or films, I'm not going through a hierarchy of ownership before 1% gets to me. I own it. Right. And I think that going forward, we'll touch a little bit about that going forward. I think that's a very, very important thing. And then I have the flexibility to experiment. I can experiment with sound. I can experiment with different approaches to the music making. If it fails, it's on me. If it works, I can always polish it up and see how to reapproach things. Whereas if I was under someone else who's calling the shots, if something fails, then they can easily, cut that cord and our relationship ends. Having spoken to or met some musicians who are signed, I think their biggest advantage is they have access to money. They have access to money. Like, they want to shoot a video. Boom. Who do you want the video? Who do you want to shoot your video? Insert director X's name. They get him. I want so-and-so to produce my song. It's a possibility if it's within budget for their label. They have access to, basically access. They can get your album done in minutes, quote unquote, not really minutes, but they can get your album done within a considerably short timeline, depending on who you're working with. And for me, who's doing it out of the pocket, an album may take a while. I may not have at the time direct access to funds that will sort this thing out. Another advantage that label guys may have is, again, access to networks that may be beyond an independent artist like myself. If we're talking about media, access to venues if you want to put up a tour. If you're talking about networking in rooms where artists rarely have an in, the label could do that for you, If you're signed, like, for example, Burna Boy, we started seeing him in major late-night American TV shows after he was signed to, I don't know what label he signed to, I forget. But whatever the label is, they had that in their pocket. Like, oh, you want to go to Jimmy Kimmel? Boom. It's a possibility. Whereas that looked like something that is so unattainable for an African artist, right? And so that's a perk that he has. If you look in the long run, it's very important to note that when you are signed, the money given to you is, say it with me, it is a loan. So imagine going to a bank and they give you a loan for whatever amount, right? It's probably going to be attached with a huge interest percentage that you have to pay back. But basically, you know that your business must work within these 2 years. If it's a 48-month loan, within these 2 years, man, this business must work so that you can pay back that loan and start earning your profit. Same thing with a record label. Record labels don't care about your life, bro. They're not your friends. They're not like, oh, Noel, I really want to see you succeed. Oh my gosh. No, man, it's a business opportunity for them as well. So as much as they may believe in your talent, it's not because, they've been so moved by the songs you sang. It's that they've seen this is a business opportunity we can exploit. They front you the money. You say, I want to shoot a video for 300,000. They'll front you the money. I want to do ABCD. I want to collaborate with artist X. They'll do whatever is needed to be done to get that artist on board. But what you don't realize is that this is all going to your bill. So if you're doing an album, at the end of that album cycle, if you've spent 5 million shillings, let's say you spent whatever amount it is, let's put it at 5 million shillings, right? If I've spent that means that before I start as the artist earning profit, they are going to recoup their money. So if I start selling my album or I start touring, especially if it's what they call a 360 deal, which simply means that they make money from every aspect of your brand, not just your music. So if you have an endorsement with Coca-Cola or if you have a Vanity Fair sort of deal, they are making money from everywhere that has your name. So if it's that sort of deal, that means that they're going to recoup their money. When they get to 5 million, they are going to now you're going to check in to the profit split that you had. And that split is usually never in your favor. If it's a nice deal, you're probably getting like 19%. And this is like major labels. So I don't even know what like Kenyan labels, what type of splits they have. Typically, that's the situation. So it's important for you to know what is important to me. I think if you're trying to be famous, if you're trying to be the biggest act out there, a label would be a short-term sort of passageway to that goal. They'll fund you. Everyone will know your name. They'll market it. But in the long run, you probably won't own the music you made. Probably won't make as much money, although you'll be on everyone's lips. Try and assess what your goals are. Are you trying to go viral? Are you trying to have a long-lasting career? Those things will kind of advise who to involve in your music career or in your business. Just know what you're giving up and be okay with it. I'll say that again. Know what you're giving up and be okay with it. Now, going into these deals without any sort of knowledge, if you don't know what you're giving up, you will be as jaded as ever. I know if you're a musician, you've probably heard of all these cases of even the biggest stars, going back and forth with their label, trying to get out of deals that they signed, not knowing how oppressive they were. Just know where the record label stands. It's not your father. It's not your mother. It's not your brother. It's not your sister. It's a business entity trying to make money as well. If you can find a way where it's mutually beneficial, hey, go for it. But be aware that you may not be the sole one benefiting. You need to know what you're giving up and be okay with it. So management is probably a great balance. For an artist like me, I've seen that as the years progressed, it became easier for me to first identify the people who could help me. Because the music, I had direct access to my fans because of social media. As the music ball, if you're thinking of a ball and it's rolling and it's gathering moss, right? When people start seeing that, then they're able to plug into situations that are mutually beneficial. So if, for example, I have a project and I don't have the manpower to push it, now we have PR companies doing that for artists, right? Getting you the access to media that you didn't have as an independent. And they do that at a fee. So I can't pay for that, right? We have managers now who can negotiate for you in places where you'd go and negotiate blindly and lose out on an investment opportunity. You have people who can do that for you now, I guess early on, try and do as much as you can on your own and learn. And then when it becomes unbearable, like when you simply cannot do it, try and outsource it. I know even some artists get frustrated to the point where, including myself, you want to quit music. Like, it has nothing to do with the passion that you have for music. It has everything to do with the things around it. The stress of marketing, the stress of trying to find resources for your projects, stuff like that is outside of the music making. If you have people that believe in you to the point that they want to invest in that journey, go for it. But always know what you're giving up. One of the things that works for me, I think, is Catalogue. A lot of musicians ask me, why do you bother recording albums, EPs? For them, it doesn't look like it makes sense. And which is funny because people just think that you do things without thinking about them. There is strategy. But anyway, like in Kenya, our mainstream musicians will probably drop 2 or 3 singles a year with an accompanying video, and they keep it moving. And it works wonders for them, right? But the biggest mistake I could do is look at what artist X or Y, who averages 1 million views per song, is doing, and then copy it and apply it to my career. That is, never do that. If you're not a musician, don't do that. Don't see business X. They sell fruits and they're doing well. You know nothing about fruits. You go and even me tomorrow, I'm selling fruits. Like, that is the worst thing you can do. I've seen that having a body of work, people listen more when I have a body of work than one single. For the times where I've dropped a single, I go to the back end of iTunes, Apple Music, all these streaming sites, and it barely gets engagement. But when I have a project out, I get more streams. And here's the thing, 1 million streams, right, seems like, wow, that song got 1 million streams. It seems like, ooh, a lot of work went into that. Now, I think the mistake, especially artists like myself do, we look for one song that is going to get 1 million streams. So we say, who can I collaborate with? The biggest artist I think I can call we do a song and hopefully it's going to get to 1 million streams. The likeliness of that happening is it's close to none, unless you have the marketing budget behind you. If you're doing it organically, like I've been doing it, it's probably not going to happen. But 1 million streams in a month is, let's even just say 1 million streams. If I had one song and I'm trying to get there, it would be difficult. But if I had 20 songs, right, 20 songs uploaded at different times, cumulatively, I'd need each song to average 50,000 streams. And that's 1 million. That is far, far more realistic than me putting all my chips in one song. And so every time I drop an album, my catalog is adding. So if you find me in 2021 and you have dropped a new album, dropping soon, City on a Hill, check it out, yo. This is your neighborhood plug. But once you see City on a Hill and then you go back and you see, he had an EP called The Love Sessions 2019. Okay, 2018 he had an EP called Undugu. 2017 he had an EP called The Bridge. Okay. Now, if you liked the album that you picked, you're more than likely going to listen to what I did before. That is cumulative streaming that is adding to my revenue. Rather than me trying to look for Calligraph, hoping that his people will come and care about my music. Whereas they may come and I may get streams, but they're here because Calligraph is on the song. But I want lifelong engagement where you love my music because you connect with something it's saying, not because it's associated with your other favorite artist. Now, your favorite artist may be the connection that you needed to meet my music, but my music is what should keep you engaged. And so that's why I focus on Catalogue, and I'd urge everyone to kind of focus on Catalogue as well. My final thoughts in this sort of discussion, if you're a musician, take heed to my kind advice from what I've experienced. Number one, know what you do and why you do it before you go far. People are going to come and they will place their mindsets on you. They will urge you to change some things. If you know and have an idea of what you should be doing, stick to that. Number two, it's 2021. Artists, you need to invest in a studio setup. You shouldn't be paying millions to access studio time. Try and save up so that you have access to always create, if the goal is catalog, accumulative momentum going, rather than trying to bank on one song. And you may sit there and say, okay, you know what, Noel, I think you're talking from a place of privilege. Not all of us can afford a microphone or a laptop or sound card, whatever it is. Piece of advice to you would be collaborate and trade. A lot of how I've been able to put out music is through collaborative efforts. I reach out to someone, I say, can I sing BGVs on your track in exchange for studio time? Or I reach out and say, can I do X? Can I write you a song and you write me a song? That's the only way we've survived, because a lot of us, the money we make is going to our expenses. It's going to our day-to-day. A lot of the times, if we are trying to really sync it back to our career, it takes a while. And so if that's you, find pockets in your circle where you can collaborate and make it happen. My other piece of advice, I said it earlier, work on a catalog. If you're a live musician especially, don't just bank on one song. Don't bank on trying to be viral. Bank on working on your sound consistently and try and find lifelong people that will rock with you. And finally, package yourself accordingly. If you're a live musician, I should be able to see live content from your YouTube. I should be able to go and see how you sound live. If you're a rapper, I should be able to see you ride on different hip-hop beats, you know. If you're an acoustic musician, I should be able to see you playing the acoustic guitar and singing if I go to your social media. I hate it when I go to someone's Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, and I have to scroll through 20 selfies to just find one video of you singing and your bio says, singer, songwriter, etc. I should scroll once to see what it is you do, because that's the generation we are in. People have short attention spans. And so package yourself accordingly. If someone only sees your Instagram, will they go out knowing what it is you do? Or are you trying to redirect them? Oh, go to my YouTube, there's a video there. Try and make it as seamless as possible for someone coming out. And if you're an independent artist and you own what you're doing, big up to you. If you're signed, I hope you know what you're giving up and you're okay with it. But whatever direction you take, keep creating, keep creating, keep creating. Share this podcast for, if you know any musician or any business owner, or if this has been helpful at all, this conversation, remember to share this podcast. If you're on my YouTube, subscribe as well. We're going to keep it moving. See you on the next episode of Essentially Speaking. Peace.
Skiza flow na conversation, essentially speaking.